Hey y'all, welcome to Oh My Word with Katie. Let's talk about nonfiction. Now, I didn't grow up reading a lot of nonfiction, but then I became a journalist, and suddenly nonfiction got a lot more interesting because, as you may have heard, truth is truly stranger than fiction. So, here are 10 of my favorite nonfiction books and why I recommend them. First, we have Race Against Time. A reporter reopens the unsolved murder cases of the civil rights era by Jerry Mitchell. I got to be one of Jerry Mitchell's coworkers at the Clarion Ledger, and he is a phenomenal investigative journalist, um, a Christian believer himself, a phenomenal writer. Like, just read any kind of in depth investigative reporting he's done, including this book. It's amazing. Everybody in Mississippi should read it. Everybody in the South, everybody in America should read it. Next, we have The Kingdom of Cain, Finding God in the Literature of Darkness by Andrew Klavan. What a title, huh? Andrew basically talks about a handful of real life murders and how different artists, whether they're authors or filmmakers, have taken those horrific events and somehow, some way turned them into beautiful art. By beautiful, I don't always mean in a literal sense. Like, I don't know if you would call Psycho a beautiful film, but in some ways, artistically, it is. You know what I'm saying? Also, I would love to have Andrew on the show. So, if you know Andrew, reach out to him. Next, we have my favorite memoir ever, Surprised by Oxford by Carolyn Weber. Carolyn was on the show last fall. This is such a rich, beautiful story of how Carolyn went from agnostic to Christian during graduate school at Oxford University in England. I will absolutely reread this book. It just has so many treasures in it. She's a lover of literature, and that's what she was studying when she converted. It's one of the most amazing conversion stories that I've ever read. And they made a movie, which is great, so you should watch it too. Next, we have Jerry Lee Lewis, His Own Story by Rick Bragg. I have always been fascinated by Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis and Johnny Cash and these guys who grew up dirt poor in the South and ended up making musical history somehow. And they have some eerie commonalities, and it's just really fascinating to read about how their upbringings really affected them. So, definitely recommend this, and also just anything by Rick Bragg. I mean, come on. How to Stay Married, the most insane love story ever told by Harrison Scott Key. This is Harrison's memoir of how he found out his wife was having an affair and how their marriage actually survived and got better. This is an amazing story. This is a Christian couple. They're in church. They were in church at the time. They're in a different church now, but it is very raw. It is very real. It'll make you cry, but it will also make you laugh super hard. Like, Harrison's one of the funniest writers I've ever read, and this story is amazing. My husband and I read it together very early in our marriage, and it made us laugh out loud and cry. So, highly recommend. Joan Didion, The Year of Magical Thinking. This is on the other end of the spectrum. This is her memoir of the year after her husband died. So, like that following next year. And it's devastating and beautifully written. Her writing just flows. It's super easy to read in the best way possible. Basically, anything Joan Didion writes, pick it up. The writing is going to be amazing. Next, we have Good to Great, Why Some Companies Make the Leap and Others Don't by Jim Collins. This might seem like an anomaly for me. I don't typically read a lot of like business books. I'm not really that kind of reader, even though I'm a business owner. But look, y'all, I have dog-eared many pages, and I've gotten a couple of really, really, really good nuggets out of this book. Those nuggets alone are worth the price of admission. So if you own a business, I highly recommend it. Next, we have The Tipping Point, How Little Things Can Make a Big Difference by Malcolm Gladwell. I need to reread this one, but this is a bunch of really cool stories about how different businesses or organizations or movements reached their tipping point and what did they have in common? What are the common factors in that? And it's just fascinating in and of itself, but also, again, if you own a business or if you lead a church, good stuff here. Every Good Endeavor, Connecting Your Work to God's Work by Timothy Keller. This is sort of a comprehensive overview of work, why it's good, why the fall makes work hard, and how we can redeem that by God's grace. Anything Timothy Keller writes, just really great writing, theologically sound, really good stuff. And finally, another podcast guest recently was Karen Swallow Pryor. Her book is called You Have a Calling, Finding Your Vocation in the True, Good, and Beautiful. She's written several other books, but this is the one I have. And it's little, it's short, it's quick. It's just really encouraging, and it applies to more than just your work, aka your day job. It has to do with just your life in general. Very encouraging, something you can keep on the shelf and come back to over and over again. So those are 10 of my favorite nonfiction books. Let me know yours. What nonfiction have you enjoyed, and what did you get out of it? And in the meantime, I hope you'll enjoy my interview with Matthew Clark. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Oh My Word with Katie, the show where we hear from Christian writers, give you amazing book recommendations, and marvel at all the ways God shows up in words and stories. I'm your host, Katie Ginn, and today on the show, we have Mr. Matthew Clark. He is a Mississippi-based singer-songwriter and author whose latest project, the Well Trilogy, is a trilogy of albums and books. If you're watching the video, these books have the most beautiful cover art, which we'll talk about. But Matthew, thanks so much for being on the show today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, all right, we will get into this beautiful, beautiful Well Trilogy, but just to let folks get to know you a little bit, your mother and brother are both visual artists. You're a songwriter. You've put these books together now. So which kind of came first for you, or were you just kind of immersed in all of the above growing up?
Oh, well, yeah, I was immersed. My mom is a visual, but mainly ceramics. And my brother was a visual artist. He has a master's degree in comic book art.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he can draw anything. He went to SCAD. And then, but then he got into ceramics. So we both grew up around a lot of creativity. My sister is also very creative. And my dad is a very practical farmer type.
Okay.
So that there was some difficulty there for us connecting about the creative endeavors. That was a little scary for him. But yeah, I grew up around it. And my mom also played guitar.
Oh.
She sang a lot of 60s folk stuff like Joan Baez. And so I got a lot of, there's some crazy sirens going on right now. But something's going on. But yeah, my mom sang. So I grew up around music, and I had a great uncle also who was professionally, he was a psychiatrist. He lived in Memphis, but he was a really fine jazz musician in the Benny Goodman era. Like he was my mom's mother's brother. And he was a big encouragement to me as well. So it was kind of all around me.
Yeah. Did you like take to a certain thing first? Because one would assume it was music, but I don't want to make assumptions.
Well, guitar. I started on guitar. I was probably 11 or 12. And I was not great at school, actually. School was difficult for me. And I had zero interest in any kind of sports. And so one day my brother and his friend Roger Caperton started playing guitar, and they played the first song I ever learned on guitar was this little riff for Play That Funky Music, White Boy.
I love it. Which is exactly what everyone would think of when they see Matthew Clark.
I'm a white boy, that's for sure. It's a great place to start. So I learned that little that little thing. And I think it's really important if you're a kid and here's something you're interested in that feels sort of powerful to you, but then if you don't taste a little bit of success early on, I think you lose a lot of motivation to continue in it. So the little riff for that song was simple enough that I could do it. And so pretty quickly I felt like I can make a song happen. It was so exciting to me. So I just grabbed hold of guitar.
Yeah, that's great. I recently, we downsized. I had a baby grand, and we sold it and got a much smaller, like electric piano keyboard. I don't know what you exactly would call it, but I noticed recently when playing it, these keys they're they're more narrow, they're a little closer together. This song that was really hard a few months ago is a little easier now. Maybe I'll actually play more often. So it feels like cheating, but I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm never going to be a professional musician, so it's fine.
Whatever works well on guitar, that would be something like you would buy one that has a slightly more narrow neck or light strings. So there are ways to make it, if you're a young student, to make things a little easier. If you have a terrible guitar with high action and heavy strings, you're going to just feel like, I can't do this. You're going to feel like a failure. So there are ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in terms of books and stories, was there a book or an author early on? Do you remember, like, what was the first story or author that really grabbed you growing up?
Well, my mom read to me from the very beginning. And one of the earliest books or authors was Tolkien. So I don't really remember a time when Tolkien wasn't around, when Middle Earth wasn't just kind of in the air, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've loved The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, I mean, my whole life. And that became such a place I would go, like that world. And yeah, so definitely Tolkien.
Yeah. And he would love to hear you say that there's a place you would go, because he was a big advocate for, you know, sometimes we need an escape, and that's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, he talks about that in his essay on fairy stories. Like, escape is not a bad thing if you're wrongly imprisoned. Or if you want to escape, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about these books, but in reading the first one, yes, Only the Lover Sings is book one, and this album and the book of essays that accompanies it are centered on the woman at the well. And you talk about in the introduction how you were coming out of a very, very hard season when you put the album together. But what made you decide for all three of these to put a book of essays, a collection of essays together for each album? I think it's brilliant, but I want to know how you came to that.
Yeah. Well, it actually kind of continues to connect to Tolkien, because there's a scholar called Dr. Diana Glyer, out of California, and she is an Inklings scholar. Inklings is the writing group that Tolkien and Lewis had together for 17 years, I think. Basically, the Lord of the Rings was written within that writing group. He was reading what he was working on and getting feedback. And Lewis, of course, was such a big fan that Tolkien said he never would have finished Lord of the Rings had it not been for Lewis just prodding him and saying, you've got to write that book. And so she studies the Inklings and how they're the collaborative element in creativity. So I read some of her books. She's got a great book called Bandersnatch. That's kind of the popular version. The academic version is called The Company They Keep. Her stuff has made a big difference in my life. But one of the ideas for me was I just grew up kind of doing things on my own. And so collaboration did not come naturally to me. Asking for help did not come naturally for me. And letting people help me did not come naturally. And so it started in some ways as a spiritual discipline to say, Lord, I need to learn how to collaborate. People come and be with me in this work. And I had some friends who were encouraging them that way, even with fundraising. Part of how I do what I do is through patronage. So I thought, well, the best way I know to get better at something is to get myself in trouble. Like, I need to actually get myself in a position that forces me to do that discipline or create that. And so I said, well, if I make a project where this is a major component and I commit to that project, then that will create an opportunity for me to practice this collaborative skill that I feel like the Lord is asking me to grow in and pay attention to. So it was really kind of came out of that. And then the other idea was I really miss things like liner notes.
Oh yeah.
Physical albums, and you would open up and you'd read the lyrics and you'd see the pictures. And I thought, well, what if I made sort of gigantic liner notes for these albums? And that sort of evolved into book essays.
Okay, so then each album has the book of the same name that goes with it. The cover art is very similar. It's just a different shape, obviously. You know, if you're on Spotify, it's a square instead of a book shape.
That's right.
But did you, and in reaching out to the writers who contributed essays, so each chapter is like you write a short introduction, then you have the song lyrics, then you have somebody has written an essay that kind of goes with that song. Did you try to pair people with particular tracks, or did you give them an album and be like, hey, pick a song to write about? Or
I tried not to micromanage too much. I did hire an editor, so we had, and she became kind of a team manager as well, so she was handling all the communication between all these essayists, and I was in that, but she was really handling it. Her name is Elizabeth Adams, and she signed on for all 3 books. And she was able to bring a kind of cohesion to it that just blew my mind. She was amazing to work with. What a joy. But initially what I did is I just gave people the album and I said, pick a song. If there's a song that kind of grabs you, that you feel like, ooh, this seems to resonate with me somehow, then let me know what that song is and how you might like to respond to it. The idea was not so much, I wasn't asking them to critique the song or analyze the song. It was very, I want you to enter into a conversation with this song and respond to it with a personal narrative.
Yeah. And I love that they're personal narratives, and that's not, essays and personal narratives and creative nonfiction. That's sort of a niche. Not a lot of people specialize in that. So how did you go about finding people? Did you just find people that you like their writing in general and you're like, they could probably write an essay? Or how did you find them?
Yeah, it's a mixture of things. Most of the people are people that I know and who I already loved their writing. I've been in part of a few things, like there's an online magazine called the Cultivating Project, or Cultivating Magazine. And I've been a part of that since it started about 8 or 9 years ago. Lancia Smith out of Colorado Springs runs that, the Cultivating Project, cultivatingoakspress.com. So I met a lot of writers through that. Then I've been involved with Rabbit Room things for years. And so I knew a lot of writers through that. And C.S. Lewis Foundation is another group I've been a part of for a lot of years. And so I knew through that. So it was actually pretty easy to find writers because I just kind of already had this pool of friends who were amazing writers.
Yeah.
And then there were a few kind of moonshots that I was like, if I could get Malcolm Guite to write for this thing, that would be wonderful. And I do know him, but I was like, he's so busy. He's never going to be able to do it. But then he did. He came through amazingly. He was so generous.
Yeah. And he's got his own book out now that he's promoting, which is exciting.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So let's talk about I didn't really give a good synopsis of the albums and books themselves. So book 1, album 1, Only the Lover Sings. This is about the woman at the well, or kind of centered around themes that come out of that. Book 2, A Tale of Two Trees. It says meditations on faith keeping. And so how would you describe that, faith keeping?
So the first book is about the big surprise when you finally have the courage to turn and meet Jesus face to face, and you think he's going to have a look of disgust and hatred on his face, but actually he's glad to see you. And wow, I never thought that could happen. And he actually loves me and he came looking for me. So you have this meeting with Jesus, and when you see the look on his face, it changes everything. And then, the expectation might be, well, great, everything's going to be easy from now on, right? All my problems are solved. But then actually you enter into this kind of middle time period, this meantime, where you come down off the mountaintop and life is still really hard and confusing and weird and frustrating. And you've got to figure out how to keep singing. You learned this beautiful new song. The Lord put a new song in your heart at Jacob's Well. And then you get out here and you're like, can I keep singing that thing? It doesn't make any sense in this context anymore. It's so difficult. And so the framing for that one is Psalm 137, where Israel is in exile. And they say, and their tormentors, their Babylonian torturers are saying, yeah, keep singing that love song about your homeland that you're never going to see again.
Ooh.
Yeah, we love to hear those great little songs about Zion.
Oh, man.
They're just messing with them. They're just poking them. And they say, how can we sing? We can't sing these songs in this place. That's all over. Everything we hoped for was gone. But then, like, they rally and they say, no, we got to keep singing. We got to sing these songs about where God is somehow going to get us there, get us home.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the middle book. And which family tree am I going to abide in? The family tree of hopelessness and despair, or am I going to abide in the family tree of Jesus, which looks like it's been chopped down?
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little sprout coming up.
And this cover art, okay, all the covers are beautiful. Who did these?
Yeah, well, they're not AI.
Yes, thank you, Jesus.
There's a guy named Eugene Frost that I found on Etsy in 2012.
Okay.
He did another album cover for me back then for a Bible walkthrough called Bright Came the Word from His Mouth. And I was just flipping through Etsy one day, and his stuff jumped off the page. It's so beautiful. And it has a kind of mythic quality to it. So it's very much a storytelling element, just immediately in the visuals.
Yeah.
And so when I got back around to this album, we've kept in touch over the years, and I reached out to him, and he was glad to do it. He's just amazing. He's such a brilliant guy.
Yeah. Okay. And then the final volume, part 3, is Where the River Goes, Meditations on the Return of Jesus Christ, which I love this cover as well. Most of our listeners are just listeners. I know y'all can't see this, but you need to get on Spotify or YouTube so you can see these books, or better yet, just order them. All right. So how much do you want to share about how these 3 themes came together for you? Was it sort of more so just the first one and then you kind of did a natural progression, or how were you wrestling with these things in your own life?
Well, it was a really slow process, but it was kind of a natural process. I had been going through a really serious stage of grief after a divorce, and that my life just kind of blew to pieces. And I never could have imagined that life could feel that scary and chaotic and sad. And I was just in a place where I felt like my face was smashed up against a wall of blackness. I just couldn't see anything good out in front of me at all. I had no imagination for goodness, which is another way of saying I had no way of hoping. And somewhere in the midst of that, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but this story kept popping up, which was John chapter 4, the woman at the well. And I just couldn't get away from that story. Like, I would hear a sermon about it, and then there'd be a podcast about it, and it'd come up in the readings. That just happened over and over and over again for like this 5-year period.
Wow.
And so it became really clear that the Lord was saying, like, stay with this woman at this well. She has something to teach you. I want you to pay attention to this. And so that story became this kind of habitat that I just ended up dwelling in for 5 years, and sort of watching this meeting happen between Jesus and this woman whose imagination was totally burnt out because of the sadness and the darkness of her life, which wasn't all her fault. It was a mixture, right? Life is complicated. But things had been done to her as well. But, if you had told her that morning that she needed to get up and go to the well at noon and meet God face to face, like, she would have rolled over, pulled the alarm out of the wall, and thrown it across the room. Of course I'm not going to do that, because all she can imagine is a look of disgust on the face of God. And I was in a place like that. So these books are emerging from a long healing process.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the 3 books, it really started with The Woman at the Well,
Mm-hmm.
and then it moved into this place of faith keeping, and then ultimately of the restoration of God's dream for the world, which
Mm-hmm.
you might think has been totally squashed, but actually he's going to pull it off somehow.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Yeah.
You mentioned it's funny you said, I really feel like the Lord wanted me to invite people to help me more and be part of collaboration more, but then you named all these different groups you're part of. So I think you're doing okay. One of them was the Rabbit Room, which even I myself, as I have done research on different authors for the show, I knew about the Rabbit Room, but I keep coming back to them as like, oh, all these great authors I want to get on the show, they're somehow involved in this. What is the Rabbit Room, and how can the average reader or music listener, enjoyer of the arts kind of engage with the Rabbit Room?
Sure. Well, the Rabbit Room has evolved a lot over the years. I think in the really early days, it was Andrew Peterson, if you're familiar with Andrew Peterson, the singer-songwriter. He's one of my favorite singer-songwriters. He's a big influence on me. It was kind of Andrew and his immediate circle of friends. They kind of banded together and started a sort of fan club that really turned into a bigger conversation, and then that turned into a conference, and then it turned into a publisher, and it sort of just grew, and now it's a nonprofit, and they've got a theater group. They're publishing great things. But generally they're just encouraging the making of art, that Christians should tell stories and make things, and that's one of the ways. There was something Andy Crouch said in the book called Culture Making. Is that his book? And he said, culture is not just made out of ideas, it's actually made out of things. If you want to change culture, you need to make books and meals, songs. You need to make whatever it is that you make. Because we're not abstracted beings, we're embodied beings, and we engage with things.
Yeah.
And God has made a world of things. He's made flowers and trees and wind and water and music, So that's how He does it too. So they're big into encouraging that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have Rabbit Room Press, as you mentioned. They're publishing books. They've got some. Andrew Peterson himself did a great middle grade fantasy series, so they've got all sorts of stuff out there for those who want to follow them and engage with some of their stuff. As far as these books, or even the albums, I'll include the albums too. What was the biggest whoa moment for you, or the biggest moment when God showed up for you in this trilogy?
You mean in the process of actually making the books?
Yeah, I think so. Or even what came out. Just any of it.
Well, I think one thing that is always amazing about collaboration, and on this scale it was unusual, I was getting to experience sort of large scale collaboration, so maybe it showed up in a bigger way just because of that circumstance. But one thing is that just to find out that you're not alone and you're not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You start sharing some story of what God has brought you through, or some terrible place you wound up and you felt so alone and you felt like an idiot in that place. And then you open up a place where there's an opportunity for people to share their stories, and you start finding out like, oh, you also have been in a place like this. Oh, you're sharing something that makes sense to me because I've experienced something similar. So the way it dispelled the evil enchantment of loneliness, that was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
And then also to have people say yes, to have something that's important to you, ask people to come be a part of it, and instead of them saying, that's so dumb, I think I'll just go over here, and they say like, yeah, I'd love to be a part of that. That was so encouraging.
Yeah. So it sounds like it kind of, you were already in the healing process when you started this project, but would you say the collaboration gave your kind of healing journey a boost?
Yeah. Yeah. If we're made in the image of God, in the image of a Trinity, a very specific kind of God,
Mm-hmm.
Christianity has a very particular kind of God that is three persons in community, in union. And if that's the image we're made in, then the kind of thing we are doesn't work by itself. It only really works in connection with other people in loving attachment. And so there was this VBS song I wrote one time for church, and it said, "You can't be a person without some more people."
Oh, yeah.
And that's the idea. You can't be a person without other people. The only way to see yourself, and this was a huge theme all across the trilogy, is that you can't actually see yourself, even like physically. Like your eyeballs face away from your face by
Mm-hmm.
design, so that your face kind of isn't actually for you; it's for somebody else, and their face isn't really for them; it's actually for you. So the way that you see yourself is by being seen by someone who loves you. So I look out and I see my mom's face smiling back at me when I'm a baby, and I know that I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so in Numbers chapter 9, I think it is, or 6, I forget. Lord, would you make the light of your face to shine upon us?
Mm-hmm.
If you do that, we'll have peace.
Yeah, we'll know we're okay.
And a shining face is a smiling face.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lord, if we look up and you're glad to see us, we can relax. Everything's going to be all right. But if we look up and you won't look at us, or the look on your face is disgust, we're gonna fall apart. We can't survive.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes back to the woman at the well when she gets there, and by the end of the conversation, this is what has happened. Somehow, she has seen Jesus seeing her, and it changes the way she sees herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I forgot your original question. But
That's okay. I have to. That makes me curious. Have you seen the Chosen's depiction of that scene, the woman at the well?
I have, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Had you watched it before? I don't know the timeline of when you were working on all of this.
No, I had already put all this stuff together by the time I saw that, but
Mm-hmm.
it was fun to see it though.
Yeah,
Really enjoyed that show.
yeah, I have to. And then I've read Heidi White's essay that's a lot more directly about the woman at the well, because a lot of the essays are like just sort of thematic, and they're talking about maybe, like you said, those universal experiences we all go through. But she wrote about the historical woman at the well, and I don't want to ruin it for people, like, but it's amazing.
Cool.
Her story, according to church tradition and church history, is pretty phenomenal. So,
Well, and that's another thing is I learned a lot. I didn't know that either going into
yeah,
it. So
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah.
And the other thing is, like, I have, a few times now been like, okay, I'm going to use this as my morning devotional. I'm going to open this up and, read Matthew's little intro, and then, okay, turn on the song, listen to the song. We'll have my lyrics here. And then I'm going to read the essay. Have other people done that? Like, what kind of feedback have you gotten on how people are reading this and experiencing it?
That's a really interesting. That's really encouraging that you've experienced it that way, or approached it that way. Because I did not think of it in terms of like this is a devotional. That didn't really occur to me. But I mean, it makes sense that you could totally use it that way. Yeah, I don't know that anybody has mentioned reading it in that particular way. But yeah, it's been encouraging to get messages here and there. Just, I think a lot of times people who are in a grieving process or a loss have had a major loss or a really serious rupture relationally or anything like that. There's a musical term that I really like, and that's just accompaniment. If you're an accompanist, you play the music under the song someone else is singing. You're helping them sing this song that may be really sad. And so I think that's kind of the general feedback I've gotten is that it has, and I hope it continues to be a kind of accompaniment to people as they're going through those kinds of things.
Yeah. And I mean, And even if they're not, because again, like I feel like I've been doing pretty good lately, but I've still been enjoying. I'm probably honestly, I would be devouring it a lot more if I were, in a darker time of life. But it's not like it's not a downer by any means. It's a beautifully written, beautifully put together set of books that's just enjoyable in general.
Great.
So you've already mentioned Tolkien. Are there any other classic works that either have inspired your music or this particular trilogy in general, or that maybe people, if they enjoy the Well trilogy, maybe they would also enjoy blank?
That's a good question. And I'm not allowed to say Tolkien again. Tolkien's actually the only book I've ever read. I don't read anything else. Well, I will say that I don't know. This is not like a classic work of literature. It's a philosophy book. But it's a small book, and I stole the title for the first book. Is Only the Lover Sings is actually a little bitty 75-page book of philosophy by a guy named Josef Pieper. He's a Catholic theologian.
Yeah.
He died, I think, in the 90s sometime. But and it's not a story, but he's just talking about the concept of paying attention, and that we live in a world that's so obsessed with work and productivity, and we kind of treat ourselves and each other like machines. Like you got to get stuff done, and you got to make money, and that's what life is about. And if there is no big story to the universe, then that is all there is, really, just survival and kind of supply and demand. But he argues that that's not actually what life is about, that that's very much secondary, that you don't rest in order to work. You actually work so that you don't have to work, because not working is what life is actually about. But he says not working it's not about passivity. It's actually a space created for contemplation, for beholding. And he says that's actually the definition of leisure, that leisure is a space that you intentionally cultivate apart from work, so that you can just pay loving attention to reality, and you can begin to find out who God is and what's actually going on. What is the real story of the world? So that little book is a big inspiration, because a theme running through the whole trilogy is, am I going to stop distracting myself so that there's enough time and opportunity for me to actually pay attention to God and find out that he loves me? Or am I too scared to do that? I would rather just be super busy so I don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. That's so good. And I'd never heard that definition of leisure before, which is so counterintuitive based on our current culture. Because I immediately go to, either a 5-star resort or something like that for leisure, or I go to Leisure Suit. It's like just like
I'll go there.
Yeah. 1970s debauchery, I guess. But yeah, paying loving attention in the absence of those distractions.
Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah, beholding is what he calls it. Beholding.
Yeah. Well, what are you reading now?
Well, I'm reading actually what I'm most excited about reading, but it just showed up, is going back to Malcolm Guite, his new one, Galahad and the Grail. It's a epic poem, Arthurian poem, and so that's what I'm really excited to read. That's next in line.
Yeah, I need to put that one on my list too. My really only foray into King Arthur was the 1998 TV miniseries Merlin, starring Sam Neill.
Yeah. Is it good? I've never seen it.
It's so good. It's probably really cheesy by today's standards, but I loved it. But I've recently started reading Roger Lancelyn Green's King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table, and I think it's geared toward young readers, which is good because, again, I'm not familiar. So maybe after I do that, I can read the Malcolm Guite and really appreciate it more.
Well, I'm like you. I actually don't know. Monty Python is about the extent of my.
There you go. Yeah.
My expertise.
Yeah. Well, where can people buy this trilogy of books?
Yeah. Well, the easiest way, you can go to my website, and that can take you straight to Amazon, and you can just order it off Amazon, which is, my website is matthewclark.net. So that's
Perfect.
easy. Also, there are audiobooks.
Ooh,
I don't know if you knew that.
okay.
But the audiobooks are on Spotify and lots of different platforms. I don't think they've actually shown up on Amazon, and I can't figure out why.
Hmm.
But they're supposed to be on Amazon, but I don't think they are yet. But yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, my website, yeah.
So then with the audiobooks, are you reading all of it?
Yeah, I did the audiobooks, and all of the music is embedded in the audiobooks as well.
That
So
was my next question. Oh, that's so cool. Okay.
yeah.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, is there a Bible verse or a passage you'd like to close us out with that relates to your work or with these albums?
That's a good question. Well, I don't know. This is just what pops into my mind. There's a little verse. Where is it? Is it First Peter? It talks about. I don't actually have it memorized, but he talks about participation in the divine nature, that we have this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That by these very great and gracious promises.
Oh, I think that's Second Peter. Second Peter 1.
Second
Yeah.
Peter, we have this opportunity to participate in the divine nature, and that. So, what kind of life is the Holy Trinity living together? What kind of beautiful, fruitful, peaceful, joyful life are they living? And the point of this whole world is for us to be drawn up into that beautiful life and to live that life with them.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the idea. This is why history ends with a wedding, because the groom has come and he says, I want you to come live with us. I'm going to build a room onto my Father's house. And this was always the destination. This was always God's dream. So the last book, and the closing essay in the last book, is called The Dream of God. Like, what is God's dream? For us to participate in the divine nature, for us to be drawn up into the life of the Trinity, married into that family.
Yeah.
And, so that is endlessly inspiring to me.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Exciting.
Well, that's an awesome note to end on. And thank you so much for being on the show, Matthew. I'm excited to read the rest of these books and continue listening. I've listened to, I feel like I'm like exactly halfway through or something like that. I've listened through a portion, but I've really enjoyed it because I've listened to some of your previous stuff and enjoyed that as well. And then I got to these albums and was like, I feel like I hear some like Eagles and like easy listening, but like in a good way. And like, I don't know, there's a vibe that I really enjoy.
Very cool. Well, I'm glad you've enjoyed it. I appreciate you spending time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, y'all, if you enjoyed this episode of Oh My Word with Katie, please share it with your friends. And also, before I forget, I want to thank our sponsor for this episode, Business Communications Inc. They are my IT people. They keep us connected and online so I can record and edit and produce this show on my own, which is great. And so you can find them at bcipeople.com and right here in Ridgeland, Mississippi. But also, if you enjoy the show, you might enjoy Mississippi Christian Living Magazine, which is my day job, and you can find that at mschristianliving.com. Until next time, happy reading.